Good morning. It's 8 o'clock. So Tommy has started recording this. We do this for the purpose to allow people to come back and look at it at a later time if they're not able to join us this morning. We'll convert that to a YouTube video, make that available out there. So please, as long as everyone's aware, we're make sure that anyone can come back and watch the video. Just kind of highlight our agenda for today. Randall's going to start out with this. Let me talk a little bit about striping. Our stripers are out there getting quite a bit already accomplished, and just hit a few high points with that as far as their documentation and looking at data and results from that information. Also going to talk a little bit about our UTV usage, just kind of showing how that's out there. Bigger scheme about the first of this year we started making so you could report to non-fleet. So Randall will touch a few of those items. Once he gets to that, I'm probably going to stop for a second and just talk a little bit about tornado response. I had a supervisor ask me a little bit earlier, so probably hit on a few things there, try to connect a few dots. And then we'll go into looking at some litter pickup, talk about mowing. We definitely are kind of in that world right now, documentation of those items, talking about our PAs. Got a little bit the last couple of weeks on some crossing midnight. Those were dealing with entire crews. Again, kind of has some things there we just use as a reminder again. Some assigning work updates enhancements that will soon be coming to us. So that's kind of what we've got in store. Again, most important to the MMS team is that the things you're curious about, things that's bothering you that you ask us about. So please, anytime, just stop us, raise your hand, put it in the chat. We'll be more than willing to answer those questions. So with that, Mr. Randall.
All right, good morning. So I'm going to share my screen here. We'll do a little bit of striping. So I'm logged in as my good friend KK from down at Sykeston. He's the striper down in Sykeston. We're going to go through this process fairly quickly, but I want to show you the difference between the actual striping crew, how they document and go to the striping map, and then a support crew. So we've got our striping activity. Notice he is the leader on this crew. So we're going to go to next. He can document mileage for the striper if he chooses. I'm going to mow on for speed. So because this is the striping crew, are you supposed to report performance actuals for this activity? We're going to say yes on this because he is the striping crew. So we say next. It's going to take us to the map in TMS. And this is where all of that striping plan, striping actuals and everything needs to actually be documented. So you notice this map is a TMS map. It is not an MMS map. So he's going to go through and then we'll select a route. I'm just going to select segment here. And it should put a line on there and we're going to submit the segments. And it will go ahead just like MMS and it's calculating the line miles that are striped. If those aren't right, or if this is not what you striped, you can change that. You can click into this box and change that. If it is, you just select either what specific line you put down, or if you click this box here, it's going to put all of them in. And notice it isn't overstriped, so we'll leave it at that. We're going to go to next. Materials, if we choose, we're going to click next and go on through that. It populates based on what you selected on that map. It's selecting the performance actuals. You cannot change those performance actuals on this page. If they're going to be changed, you're going to go back to the striping app to change it. So we'll go next, and we'll notice that it's documented everything for that day. Again, if you want to change that, if you say, well, wait a minute, those aren't the right ones, click the location, go back to this location, and then change whatever it is you want to change here. So let's change it to something drastic so you can see it. So we're just going to say that was 50 miles and go to next. And you're going to notice that the performance page, it changes it here for you automatically. So we tried to keep all of the changes in the striping application instead of changing them in MMS and those two not lining up. So that's the way you would make those changes. Now, if we come in as a support crew, so I'm logged in as a maintenance worker here at Winona. We're going to say he's in a follow truck or something. He has to be a leader. So notice he's a leader. That way he can document his location. So he's assigned that. So now we go to next. Again, he can select his equipment, put in his mileage. But this is where it becomes important. Are you supposed to report performance actuals? Well, no, I'm just a support crew. So I'm not reporting those performance actuals. So when you click no and next, now it's going to take you to an MMS map. So you're staying completely separate from that TMS map, which is what our goal was, is to keep you out of TMS. There are extra permissions you have to have, all that kind of stuff to be in there, and we don't really want to mess that stuff up. So select on the location so you can get your job numbers. Done. There's no performance actuals. You've just got your job numbers. So the key is, if you're on the striping crew and you're supposed to be documenting those performance actuals, you answer yes. It goes through the striping application in TMS. If you're a support crew, select no. It keeps you in MMS, and you're good to go. Any questions about documenting for striping?
Hey, Randall, I may add that if you have a new employee that does not have this access and they're going to be the leader in documenting that stuff, you just need to reach out to the TMS help desk and give them a call and let them know that that person is needing access to be able to document in the striping tool in TMS.
Yep. Thank you, Sheree. So that would be somebody that's on the striping crew that's going to be responsible for that. If you're just a support crew, you don't need any extra access. But yes, thank you. Okay. So still on the topic of striping. So we have a Power BI out there that we've developed. We've been working on it for a couple of years. The striping people have been very patient with us, and we appreciate that. I think it's working pretty good right now. So on reports, that takes us to a SharePoint page that has all of our Power BIs. That striping, most of the Power BIs that you guys will be interested in are in this big button over here on the left. If you select that, it's going to list all of the Power BIs that are available to you. You may see a little bit different than what I've got. You may not have quite as many, but the striping BI is the one we're talking about specifically today. Everybody should have access to that. So if you select that striping BI, it brings up all of the plan and what we've actually striped for whatever year you select. So we've got 2025 selected. There's a plan of 75,000. We've striped 9,000 miles. And we've got 955 omits. So what we're encouraging you to do is, as you complete a route or as you have time, kind of go through, make sure that you have documented what you think you have striped. So for example, you can filter these down. So I'm going to go back to Southeast. Let's look at the Missouri route. And I happen to know, I looked earlier, they striped on Route 25, Missouri 25. So if you select Missouri 25, notice there's 355 miles planned. They've striped 78. So what we would encourage is, as you complete those routes, maybe look at that route in this BI. This is going to be a quicker way to pull in what you planned and what you did. And if you striped if you planned 355 and you only striped 78, try to look into that and kind of maybe get with us. Let us know if something didn't get documented right, or if maybe the plan was wrong, or some omits need to be done, something along those lines. Kind of look into that and just make sure that your actuals are relatively close to what your plan is. Kind of help everybody out, keeping those numbers close. Any questions with the striping BI? Okay, so the last thing that they wanted me to talk about is documenting for UTVs. So we've recently added in some non-fleet units to be able to document. UTVs are the main ones that are getting used for good reason. We've got it on most activities to where you can use those. If you've got an activity that when you pull up your UTV or your equipment and UTVs are not there and you think it should be, let us know. We can add that. So it works really pretty well exactly the same. So if we've got R312 here for a org that has a UTV, so we'll go to next, and you'll see this non-fleet category here. If you select on that, it's going to bring up. They've got two different UTVs. One has GPS and one does not. And if they just select that one, it works the same way. It brings in miles and hours from that UTV. So these work a little bit differently because they're not using an OBD port or the ECM. They're estimates based on GPS. So they could be a little bit off as far as, it may show 380 and it should be 384 or something along those lines because they are estimates. But they should get you pretty close. There's a few different things that have to happen to be able to get those UTVs to where they show up and with GPS on in MMS. So if you have a UTV that has a geotab in it, but's not currently showing, reach out to me. We can get that turned on. Like I said, there's a few extra steps that we have to do, but get them in some groups, but that should work basically the same. Same thing if you select a UTV that does not have GPS, then it's the same as say a loader or something that doesn't have it. You just enter in whatever the hours are, confirm the usage for the day, and save it, and you're good to go. Most people are doing a lot of documenting with spraying. Kind of helps keeping that time, miles and hours to those activities. But we've started using UTVs on a lot of activities now. So if you need those put on there, reach out to us, let us know. Any questions about documenting with equipment?
So, Randall, just a question. Should we anticipate all UTVs to have a geotab on them?
Not necessarily. It's up to the district.
Okay. And so we still would want them to reach out to us, right? If it's a UTV, you kind of think it should be tracked, it doesn't show up, ask us, but we very easily would likely go back to the district and have them kind of have that conversation, right?
If the UTV does not have a geotab device in it, yes. If it's got a geotab device, then I should be able to make it work.
Okay. Good deal.
Okay.
All right.
I see Travis has got his hand up. What do you got, Travis?
Yeah, going back to your support crew for your striping, where you had like the TMA driver as a leader, but they're not documenting on the TMS map. Generally, I was under the impression our guys were just entering their mileage. So do they need to be doing that so that it's charging it to a specific route? Does that relate to reimbursement or something?
Yeah, so the leader has to be able to select a location. So if you've got one person as a support, he has to be able to select a location on the map, which will bring back, yes, that federal number, but it will also tie those two together. It allows the supervisor to be able to submit, right? Because if you don't have a location, it won't accept it.
So then, like, as the driver of the striper, if I'm documenting the location, then do those TMA drivers also need to be documenting a location?
Not if they are on your crew. So if you're the striper and then you've got 3 TMAs, then no, theirs should all be tied together if you're assigned together. But it's if you have support help from a different org that's providing a TMA for you, they have to have a leader on theirs as well.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that. Thank you.
Yep. No, but everybody on that striping crew, you're correct. They should all be assigned together. They're all under that same leader and they don't have to document. No, it's just the support buildings. Thanks for clearing that up though. Great question.
So I do want to just bring to your attention to when we're talking about federalizing is that when we get reimbursement, we need to have where you're coding to the activity, you're coding the mileage that you use doing that particular activity, and then we're going to need materials tied to that as well, and then the location, all and PAs all have to coincide with that particular activity. And it, I'm talking about when we're doing asphalt pavement repair, any of those concrete things, any of those other federal activities, we always want to have that series of things tied to that activity so we get full reimbursement for all of it. When you're doing that particular route. So keep that in mind as we're documenting. You don't want to leave off any mileage or materials or anything like that. If you possibly can, you want to have it all tied together. So then whenever we get audited, or if we ever do get audited and they look at that particular activity for that date, they can see, oh yes, they've got everything lined up. This is what we did for this particular activity for this route on this date. And these are the employees that are tied to it. Okay.
That's a great question. Randall, I might have missed it. Did you happen to show what that path looks like when you're that support building and you say, I'm not the lead? I looked away
Yep.
there for a second.
Yep. We went through both.
Okay,
We went
perfect,
through the leader
perfect.
for
That's
the
great.
strapping crew and an extra.
Fantastic. Because that lead from that other building still has to pick, as Travis was at, well, they still got to pick a road, but they're using our normal MMS map. We're just keeping them completely out of the striping map. Good deal. Great question. Anyone else? Guys, Randall's got to leave us here in a few minutes, so let's draw upon his knowledge there. Let's see if we can stump him. Anything else before we go to talk a little bit about some tornadoes, windstorms, flooding items? Did you have anything? Randall, were you going to show the Power BI on UTV usage?
I hadn't planned on it, but we can pull it up here real quickly.
Would you mind, please?
Sure. I believe that is under the activity report and then equipment usage. And I think to get to that, we went to a class. There it is. So for this year, 2025, for the side-by-sides, we've documented 8,300 miles, 1,600 hours. 38 different units have documented for that. So you can do that. So you can use this activity report for multiple different things, but this equipment usage is one of them that we've got in here. You can pin it down to a specific org if you want, or a district, however you want to do it, but that's one of the features of this one. Anything specific you want to look at, Michael?
No, I just think that there's this question's come up here recently several times. I think this is really powerful that you can go in and show the usage. And so whether that's the UTVs we're looking at, maybe automated pothole patchers, use that search feature there. He does an open filter. You can look on the details one, and it's going to be a class. Or if you know just a unique number even, you can look that up. And there's our pothole patchers that you can pull those up, automated truck mount. And you can see the usages going on there. And so the top one shows miles, the bottom one shows hours. Should have the highest one to the lowest one. Hopefully helping a little bit in just maybe, where those units are assigned to, the usage we think they're getting versus what is being documented. So it's good. All right. So I'm going to transition now to talk a little bit about responses, disaster responses. I can tell you it's a blessing to have Sheree. Sheree has done this stuff for years, and so I'm going to start with kind of the normal piece again of just how to start with just knowing what you should do. We will usually say, hey, go look at SharePoint. This time, what I'm choosing to share with you on the screen is this is likely when you click SharePoint, and again, we have that on MMS as the very front page. Hopefully that has been a big help. This actually came from a discussion with the EAC. So you can access SharePoint right there if that's helpful to you. But possibly yours might be going to a district SharePoint site. Perfectly okay. So I've just got Central District. All the districts are kind of lined out very similar. So if you hit maintenance, your maintenance page for your district is going to show up, and you're going to be looking for something that's emergency operations. Ours at the statewide level says emergency winter operations. That's the kind of tile you're looking for. And when you go there, then this is, everything emergency winter. And there's some great documents down here. There's PowerPoints, all kinds of guidance. This particular one, disaster events, that's usually the one I kind of go to. Sheree, is that your favorite one? There might be another one on there you kind of prefer hitting.
No, that is the one that I use all the time.
Yeah.
Is the guidance and time expenses.
And so that page will open up like this. There's a lot of really good information. This is updated anytime we kind of get some new guidance, whether it's market adjustment guidance or just some things have tweaked. This has all been pretty stable now for the last few years, but I would encourage you, kind of what we've experienced, unfortunately, the last few days here. A lot of these windstorms, tornado response. There's really good explanation of that world right there, kind of going on to be aware of it. At the same time, I know that emergency management, Athena has been doing some presentations on documentation for responses. She was up in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago, had a good meeting there. Our data feeds exactly kind of what she's looking at. They've got some special things they're starting to train on. But that's just a really good document. Encourage you guys. Any questions you have there, go there. So utilizing that Power BI, again, this is available for everyone. If you're on the homepage and you hit reports, we feel like, again, the reason we spent effort doing this is that we're all the time being asked, what did you do? How many hours? How many equipment? Whatever the piece is, right? And many times office staff are very good at running Cognos reports, right? But outside of that, that's really not the strength of the majority of us. We wanted really simple, easy ways to get there. When we built MMS, initially it was all about the results tab, which is very powerful. But we feel like these Power BIs are giving us another way to see things. So when you hit that reports, you can go into here, and if there's time at the end of our presentation today, we maybe look through a few more of those. But what I wanted to show you, Randall, when he opened this up earlier, the third one down is activity report. All of these here are all about real-time MMS data. You'll see how it says MMS. So if someone documented this morning, we're already displaying it. Randall was looking at equipment usage. I'm now looking at activity. I intentionally have brought up those activity codes for kind of windstorm world, right? Again, that guidance that Sheree has out there, we've got, it provides all kinds of stuff, but here's kind of those main ones, right? We've got flood, the 9/11s, 12 and F. We got natural disasters. We've got our snow, and we've got our windstorms right there. So I just chose to say, okay, I'd like to know real time, how have we worked windstorms, tornadoes since last Wednesday or Thursday? And that's the hours. This does surprise me a little bit, to be honest. I would have anticipated more, particularly look at St. Louis. But again, that was kind of hit a lot of the urban, not necessarily so much us. But that allows you a really fast way. This is actually what's being used to kind of come up with a fast estimate of, is this going to end up being a natural disaster? Using estimated labor, equipment, and all that information. And so where does this come from? So I dove into one of those buildings. When I highlight over that, I can see that 7H26 has put in 94 hours towards one of those activities. So ran out here, and sure enough, Mr. Travis here has documented yesterday some windstorm cleanup, 91W. I think this looks really good. Great kudos to you all, right? You had a crew, you assigned them. You guys were out there doing a lot of work on that. You've got equipment to it, just like Sheree was saying. No materials, again, maybe that's exactly the case, right? But looking at this location, right? So you guys put it under cleanup. When I go to this location tab, a couple of things we just wanted to highlight. You've picked where this response was. So for them, it looks like a little bit here in the town, and then we had more down here on Route F. These up here, notice one's debris, the other one's not. You get that by picking, was debris removed? That's a really good thing to do that first before you pick that location. And then the comments. This is where we're encouraging you. This is a great place to document those photos. Right? Now, we're not going to say that we're the only place. That's why Athena and others are giving some guidance on a new system with some photos. But if you upload that right there, click and I can upload photos into here. Supervisors, crew leaders, those who have that state phone, try this out. There's a new upload from mobile. If you click that, you can take your state phone, it'll shoot you a QLR, and you can upload straight from your phone photos you've taken. Now, I'll tell you, many times our iPhones take a really high resolution, so you might have to do something there. But again, a good place to get that documentation in there. What have we done? So I had a supervisor from St. Louis call me this morning, or send me a note, signal supervisor. I will tell you guys, Sheree has been the constant in this all along. Of anytime we've had these flooding, tornadoes, whatever the disaster is, we respond, we clean up, and then we do fixes. And sometimes those fixes could be weeks, months later, right? His question coming out of the signal group was kind of very similar, right? Well, I'm working on signals. No, you got to have it back to one of these. It's a response to a tornado. It's a cleanup to a tornado. It's the restoration, right? Pick that activity. Go through like you normally do. You can pick your signal, not a problem at all. And then the piece I wanted to highlight on materials. When you think about, oh, that's the wrong materials. But when you think about materials that you will take care of during that piece, maybe in their case, it is something that is an other expense, okay? That for our signal group is very frequent. They have a lot of items they buy and it's on a shelf. Put all of that right there. Click that other expense. Put those things in there. Use an LED. I had to do some wire. Same things our maintenance crews. St. Louis had responded to a bunch of flooding. They went and got some aggregate, hauled it straight from the quarry. They were putting on a P card. Get it in here, right? Because again, why is that so important? Real time, we can say, as of this morning, this is what they've documented. Really fast way to replicate exactly what you all are doing in the field. And again, I just thank you for all that Sheree and others have done, keeping this data in front of us, keeping it aware. Any questions about just our responses? Sheree, there's some things there to kind of fill in some holes I might have missed.
Yeah, so whenever we're coding to these activities, pay attention to the market adjustment, that the person that is responding is getting the market adjustment. And the other thing too that we want to make sure of is that we code to these activities when we're responding, because then emergency response people or, that group, if it is declared a disaster, then we can get reimbursement, and they need as big of a total as they can in some instances for us to get that reimbursement. So when they run reports, they'll run by these activities, and then it will bring in those totals for them so we can request that reimbursement. So it is important that whenever we are responding, we're repairing, we're doing any cleanup, that we are using these codes in order to identify that this particular windstorm, just like we had back in Jefferson City a few years ago in May, that when we brought in that total, that we can say, this is how much it cost us to respond and to clean up and to repair from that tornado, that event itself.
Okay. All right. Any questions about tornado flood response? I actually just kind of threw it into our agenda here just because I had a supervisor reach out, because that's really the most important stuff that we want to be addressing questions. Anything there before we dive into some other agenda items? All right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about litter pickup. Okay. So I'm going to move my agenda over here. We implemented in the 1st of April a direction when it came to litter pickup. How do you make sure that you are documenting for litter pickup? And so we sent some emails out last week. Josh Burks and others out of the central office were working, doing district meetings to go through direction on keeping Missouri beautiful. So that was really a helpful thing there to go through that, and those particular topics were being discussed and touched on. But it's all about counting those bags, and so we gave a lot of ways in our documentation process to make sure you can account for your in-house bags, your contractor bags, keeping Missouri beautiful bags, to do all of that information with that. There's guidance about, well, if you hauled it off, a bag, we're going to say an average bag's $20. So divide by 20 if it's pounds. Appreciate we had supervisor in Columbia there, Melanie. Appreciate her reaching out, asking some questions about that. She had been keeping up with all of that information, so that's just really good. So if you've went out here, the crew here in Ozark spent time picking up litter on 65. And so that you pick your location of where you did that, whether you've done the work or you've come along behind someone and picked up the bags. That lead person put that information in there. Again, could be a good spot of some notes if you want to keep up with that. Please, the reminder always is, all of this has to be professional. Every bit of this can be requested to be used as a sunshine request. And supervisors, that's a little hard for you to see. So it's really leaning on our lead people. You can go in there and look at it when you submit time, but I don't believe you're going to be doing that. Diving all the way into those summary pages. So again, using that, sharing that knowledge with your lead people. What's the appropriate thing? What should you do? And this is exactly where they'll be at on that materials page. They type in litter, okay? You get all the choices: community, in-house, contractor, incarcerated, CAS. But that is a piece that the Southwest District is using intentionally, that they're trying to follow. Volunteers and keeping Missouri beautiful. Your crew picked up the bags, threw them in a dump truck, whatever it was, but maybe you're not the ones who bagged the trash, right? Get it to those ones. Our district maintenance staff. We've got Tyler in St. Louis. We got Brian over in Kansas City. I think Tim's going to start doing some of this down in the Southwest. The contractors picked up bags. They're reporting that in there. So pick that and then turn in how many bags. Convert that over. There's a count out there for extra heavy duty. There's a count for heavy duty to give you an average, and report that information into that spot. And so to see that real-time information, back to those Power BIs. If you go down to the bottom list of here, there's one that says litter pickup. And this will give you then what has been done. So we've got the calendar at the first of the year. We did not do any data previous to the first of the year. We really implemented this just April 1st. So you'll notice that's where we're at statewide. Almost 88,000 hours, 108,000 trash bags picked up, almost $5 million spent on litter pickup, contractor, in-house total there. You can kind of see the bags per district, what that breakdown is, and what that looks like. So be mindful, watch those things, use that to find out your information. Particularly this Keeping Missouri Beautiful, that same mindset of adopt a highway, that should be reflecting those. Usually our maintenance personnel are picking their bags up. So again, put that to an other, report to that Keeping Missouri Beautiful. Any questions about documentation, data view of litter pickup? All right, let's talk a little bit about mowing. So we've got very involved in mowing now. It's definitely something that the last couple of weeks driving around the state, we've got several places that are picking up and starting to do some mowing. So saw some up in Kansas City, going up 65 to Sedalia last week. Also saw 54 coming into Jeff City last week. So a lot of stuff going on in the world of mowing with that. So just a couple of reminders as we go through the world of mowing again. Pick a lead, do that good assigning work, be mindful of who is doing that. Again, this could be a good example of a support building also, right? So pick your equipment, do everything you got there. When you do those locations, right? So a lot of buildings are probably working on their divided highways. We've probably got some already working on 2-lane roads, sight distance issues. But pick those routes where you've done that work. Be mindful, divided highway on 65, I'm working southbound lane. Be mindful of what you're picking. With that information, again, another good spot of comments if you need to. But the thing I want to highlight is, and we probably forget a lot, is this right over here, last 7 days. That is really powerful. If I pick that, my map is now going to show everyone's documentation. So yesterday, the guys here at Ozark started mowing. They mowed the business route here by Walmart, and they came around this route here. This is powerful because the person who starts mowing the next day very easily needs to know, hey, I picked up here on 14 and took off. Okay, just be mindful of that. It's a really simple place. We're never saying that mowing has to be perfect. That's not realistic. But this last 7 days will help you. Now, the way we built this is that when you zoom out, this should also give you if your crew mowed somewhere else. So if the Ozark group was up in Springfield or down in Branson, it's going to show you anyone who's mowed in that area so that you can see that documentation. This is a feature that's on all of our activities. That's a really good one just to watch and pay attention. So we've picked a particular route. So let's say that we've mowed 65 again. We're intentional on which side. We've mowed the outside, the inside. We've taken care of that part. Again, if there's a material, maybe there's some material things that you want to take care of, and then get to that PA page. Had a really good question coming from Central District, and I appreciate that coming. Tim Trabue there in the maintenance office. Appreciate Tim's a great guy. Working with Rachel Gore with their financial service managers. They get reports every Wednesday when we have duplication of PAs. We've done a lot of stuff in the last several years to help with that. And this is one of those key things. Are you supposed to report performance actuals for this activity? If you're the lead, the answer is yes. If you're a support, the answer is no. Work through that, right? Have that conversation with your supervisor. Doesn't matter if we're bridge sealing, if we're bridge flushing, if we're chip sealing, if we're laying mix, if we're striping, this is a very frequent question being asked, and we need our employees to know how to handle it. One person does the PAs. Where do we mow? Well, I'm mowing for another building's area. Have the conversation in advance. It could be that your group's totally mowing for another building. It's not even, no one in that group's helping. Have that conversation. Am I supposed to do the PAs or not? So if I say, yep, it's my area, I'm mowing, now we're going to bring back exactly what it was, right? So I did the southbound. You'll notice there's the log points and there's two shoulders, right? That divided highway has an outside shoulder and an inside shoulder. If you just mowed the outside shoulder, back those numbers down. You can change that to anything you want. You make that 1, right? If you mow just the median, again, cut that in half. We're telling you how many shoulders there. So this just is a reminder to have the conversations in advance. Use our test environment if it's a new activity. The crews are just starting up this week on mowing. Take a few minutes, show them. We've got some videos on mowing. Just a good way to remind them of that process. Now, if I was to be Brian here and documented 65, and then I had another person in Ozark come in and pick the same exact location, it's going to tell the person there's potentially duplicates. We are telling the users when multiple people pick the same place, even if it's crossed multiple buildings, if they've crossed over and picked the same, we're going to tell the user, hey, probably isn't right. Supervisors, we're telling you also before you submit time. When a duplicate gets all the way to financial services, there's been multiple people who have said there's no problem with it. And that's really where the question was coming from. Why am I getting all these duplicate reports? Well, realistically, you should get only a few of them, hardly any, because it's already been vetted by the employee and by the person who submitted the time. When it's not, likely we have some things we need to go back and help supervisors, crew leaders to understand. Let us know. We don't mind coming and helping in those things. We just want to make sure that everyone's doing it as best they can. If there's some kind of something that's holding you up on that, please let us know. Again, this first pass, pretty simple, straightforward. It's one pass. On our mowing documentation that we have now and have had for several years, it's about just completing a shoulder. It doesn't matter if that's 5 foot wide or that's 150 foot wide. It's just one shoulder is all that's documented at this time and how that is processed there. So again, you can use the Power BI, same kind of deal. You could go over, look at mowing if you want, but I do want to highlight a brand new function. It's new. It's probably about 2 months old that you can access from My Area. This is dealing with mowing also. So if I go to My Area, and I stayed in here as a supervisor at Ozark, and I come over on this left-hand side and I click Activity Maps, I can pick mowing and I can go 2025 and I click one cycle. So right now, as of now, you'll see this blue lines in here, right? Now notice how we're showing across the entire district. It's not just only Ozark's mowing, but this blue line shows you at some point the crew at Ozark has come in here, someone's come in here and they've picked this route of 65 and they've said, charge their time to mowing. Now this could also be a good analysis of correct activities. They did this back in March. I've kind of wondered if actually somebody picked the wrong activity. Likely probably more litter pickup here than mowing, but it could have been, right? I could easily be wrong. I definitely. But what we're doing is we're putting these all into groups. One cycle, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. So when you look statewide, if I zoom out, you'll start getting, this is what's going on statewide this year. Now, this data in My Area shows up once you've submitted. So I talked about how, Central District's been mowing, right? That's good pieces there. Kansas City's got some mowing. Southwest has just started picking up. Southeast has got some. Not seeing a whole lot of mowing in the Northeast yet. But again, This would probably be through last week's submittal, could have started this week, some in the Northwest. This gives you a really good place as a superintendent, as a supervisor, to see, are we being consistent? Everyone around me is mowing. I'm not mowing yet. It's to help out with some of that visual with that. Also, probably going to highlight sometimes maybe when we just didn't document things quite right. Again, back using those 7 days, that could be very helpful. This does not have to be perfect, right? But it gives you a really good way of, well, that's, they've mowed that kind of stuff out of St. Robert. Nothing wrong with that, right? But allows you to kind of see, well, how does St. Robert match up against the Lebanon group, right? What was that looking like? The planned mowing. So let me hit pause there. PAs for mowing, helping out with mowing, making sure we're doing those things right, mowing map, anything in the world of mowing that would be helpful that you'd like for us to touch base with. Any questions there, or MMS team, maybe there's something I missed there you guys want to highlight?
Let's throw a poll question up, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. Do you think this new mowing map will be helpful going forward? Let us know what you think there. We appreciate that came out of our Kansas City district. So appreciate the thought. That's a good thing there. So yes or no, you guys will submit that. We appreciate that and helping us with those responses there. All right. So Tommy, I didn't even pay attention. Sorry, man. I just jumped right over that mowing map there that was yours. So if it's good with you, Tommy, let me go ahead and let you now talk a little bit about the Crossing Midnight that we've had the last couple of weeks, and then maybe even a little bit of our enhancements was signing work. Thank you, sir.
Yep, sure, no problem. Really, the Crossing Midnight is simply that reminder is that you must document your morning portion for the following day before submitting that previous day. We've had a lot of storm response here lately and kind of separated from winter, but it's the same process and the same importance. You want to make sure that everyone has fully documented that morning portion when crossing midnight before you submit that previous. And we've had that happen a few times here the last 2 to 3 weeks. So it really is just that simple reminder. Make sure on that morning portion because it creates. Generally, we've got to get a developer involved on that to get that corrected, and which this is not a problem. We can do that, but it's just less frustrating and more efficient for you guys if you just make sure you check yourself before submitting that previous day. That's really all the reminder was about. Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything further.
No, I know it kind of stumbles like Tommy says, right? We had some last week because it was, man, I got to get this time turned in, or again, these storms came in overnight. Just be careful there, right? There's some things we're doing in our new rewrite that we hope is going to make some of this better with that. And so, but if there's anything we do, the sooner you reach out to us, the better we can probably help. That's a big deal there, and be mindful of just that nighttime and watching that morning there.
So I have something to add here. So when we're talking about towards the end of a pay period, and we're looking at the 15th, we're looking at the 30th, on those days, make sure that we don't submit too quickly, keeping in mind that if an emergency happened at that night, and someone gets called in, if you've already submitted that date, then they're not going to be able to submit any time for that. And they may go ahead and document, and we'll kind of take a look at that to see, hey, did they really work? Did they not? So keep that in mind that sometimes then if it's in a split week, that locks that out. So then we can't document that or continue to document into the first if it's a crossing midnight or anything like that, and it kind of holds things up, and we have to deal with that entry as well. And some of you have experienced that in these last few pay periods where we've extended into a split week and we submitted way too early and someone got called out or crossing midnight. So keep that in mind. Usually we'll let you know when our drop dead deadline is. Even if your FS person says this needs to be in by this time, reach out and say, hey, I have some people that documented a crossing midnight. I'm finishing documenting. Just give them a heads up saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is why it hasn't been submitted. And they completely understand. Okay. But reach out if you have any of those issues or problems, and we can see what we can do to help.
All right. Okay, Tommy,
Okay.
maybe a little highlights from our assignment work.
Thank you, guys. So Michael mentioned we are making some updates to our assigning work procedures. A lot of this really spawned off some safety audits that were conducted. And so we've got a few changes coming. I don't have much to show you. Most of it's just going to be talk through some of those updates. But one of the things that we're going to be doing is adding an informational pop-up when somebody documents. They put in their activities and then they don't select equipment. So they try to next past equipment. It will simply just be an informational box that says, hey, you didn't select any equipment. And it's just that reminder of our opportunity for them to go back and select the equipment with that activity. May or may not be applicable, right? They're riding along or something. But so that'll just be an informational box, kind of a reminder. You can move right on past it. One of the next new things is coming, and I have a little bit of a demo to show, but it's really just kind of where this location. So we're going to be introducing a new work zone type question when you're assigning work. And it's located here on the dates and location page. We don't have any of the values in here yet, but what you're going to find, we tried to be very efficient and group these together. So one of the possibilities will be a mobile operation, a road closure, a flagging operation, a stationary lane closure, it's beyond shoulder, or there was no work zone. And so those will be your 6 choices that you'll choose here. And then based on the type that you pick, there's going to be some assigned required roles to that particular type. Work zone for example, on mobile operation, you're going to have a work zone specialist that'll be required role, a protected vehicle required role. If it's a flagging operation, again, you'll have a work zone specialist role, you have a flagger and training role, and a protected vehicle. You can add other things as well, but there will be some required roles that you have to fill out. And I just mentioned we are creating a new role for flagger and training. I think this will alleviate a lot of our safety alerts that we get. The folks have done the classroom portion. They just haven't done the OJT or completed that yet. And I think that's in an effort to know how many people we have out there that got that part done, but they're still in training and being assigned that role. Michael, are there anything else you want to elaborate on as far as those types and the roles?
No, I think that's good. We, like I said, Tommy, we should see this here in the next couple months, and it really helps out there. All right. Well, thank you, guys. It's been a good discussion here. I have one final item to share with everybody, but I want to take a second. Does anyone have any additional questions, thoughts, suggestions for us? Anything we can do to help out? All right. So a couple of previous presentations, if you go back to probably February and March and April, we started showing you a little bit of some of our new rewrite of documenting work. We're still We're actually started last week doing some really in-depth testing in this. Our developers have come a long ways. We've got the labor page has been rebuilt, equipment has been, materials. They're working on location now, and they're working on PAs. We got the summary page rebuilt. So really excited about that. The review and submit page has been rebuilt. Really like a lot of these new functionalities. Again, those overarching guidance, we want to keep as much as possible to look exactly the same, function the same, but we want to fix the pieces that we're frustrated with. It's causing you all problems and issues. And so that's kind of our overarching guidance on that. I bring all this to say, we're probably within a couple of months of reaching out and wanting some of you to help us test. That's often our biggest value. We can see it from what we think and what we understand and come from it from a lot of different angles, but there's such value of having some of you in an environment to help us do that. So probably, I don't know, if I guess, maybe July, August, I don't know, Tommy, we were just starting to talk about this layout this week. Still at least a month out, 2 months out maybe, that we're going to want you guys to potentially come in and start helping us. And again, it might be August, but just heads up there. We want to be intentional. Your input is absolutely paramount to make sure that we didn't miss something. Tommy, you want to highlight anything on that?
Nope. I think probably August is probably the more realistic date there that we may be ready to start reaching out. And it's to your advantage as well. First of all, it gives you heads up, early look, and start playing with it. But two, your due diligence and testing helps us put a very good product out when we do go to production, therefore eliminating your frustrations and bugs and stuff like that. So it serves you, so all of you as well, to do a good job and help us out there.
Okay. All right. Any final questions? Anyone have a suggestion, thought, anything else you want to bring up?
I'm going to throw one more poll question out for you guys. Just asking, do you want us to contact you about coming out, visiting your building?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've done a few of these. We just gone out, we've answered questions. Just we sit around and you guys throw questions at us and we answer them to the best of our ability. If we don't know them, we come back. We can do training. We can do whatever. And hopefully we're going to get to start doing a little bit more of that this summer and throughout the coming months. So I'm gonna throw a question out there. Please take a minute and let us know. I think ask for your name. I'll ask for your name and just tell us what building you're at so we can find you. And we'll reach out to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Randall and Tommy are kind of challenging the team. Can we find as a team a way that we could be in a building once every 2 weeks? I think that would just be really good. I mean, we're talking with many of you, right? Multiple times a week or whatever, but we do think there's something different there of just coming to your building, sharing some things, or maybe a couple buildings come together. So let us know. We would, it would be our pleasure to come and spend some time with you and just listen to the things that you're experiencing there. All right. Well, hey, thank you again for your time. It's been a great morning for us. Please, at any time, reach out. Call our MMS help desk. Again, if that phone doesn't ring and pick up, it does end up hitting all of us. So we'll get to that as fast as we can. It comes up on our computer. If we don't respond, it's not because we don't want to. We're probably tied up on another call or something. We'll call you back as soon as possible. And if not, shoot us a message on Teams, send us an email. More important than anything, please don't get frustrated. It's easier to call us. Call us early, call us often. We want to be here to help. Take care. Y'all have a great day.